Then on Wednesday, our illustrious Secretary of State for War, John Healey, was in Kiev once again. And during his visit, he announced that money raised from immobilized Russian assets, sorry, he said raised, I say stolen, but that's beside the point, has paid for more than £1 billion worth of weapons and military support purchased by the UK on behalf of Ukraine, which has enabled, his words, enabled the delivery of hundreds of thousands of rounds of artillery ammunition, hundreds of air defence missiles, spare parts and new support contracts to help maintain and repair its equipment and vehicles. Now, it should be pointed out, though, that this came in the form of a loan.
Of course.
And so the question is, how does Ukraine expect to ever pay that back? But in other words, based on what he's just said, he has enabled keeping the body bags full. Now, he also co-chaired a coalition of the Willing virtual meeting alongside Starmer and quotes representatives from more than 30 countries to cement further military contributions to a multinational force to be deployed in Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. And he told the virtual meeting that the UK is reviewing readiness levels of UK armed forces and accelerating funding to be ready for any UK deployment to Ukraine. Ministers, he said, are also discussing the composition of a multinational force as well as a tactical detail relating how to how the deployment would be strengthened across the seas, skies and land. You got to have gear for that, and I'm not sure that we do. But at the Coalition of the Willing meeting, French President Macron said, "We, the Europeans, are ready to give security guarantees to Ukraine and Ukrainians on the day when peace is signed. Preparatory work is over." And yet at the same time, a French official briefing reporters declined to say which countries were ready to contribute to Ukraine's security guarantees, including to the so-called reassurance force. So the question is, I wonder what the Russian attitude is to this. Now, BBC stepped in here because they spoke to Dmitry Peskov, and that was on their website today. So let's just have a brief look at what Peskov was having to say.
As far as we can understand, they're speaking about ensuring security guarantees for Ukraine by deploying European forces, European regiments in Ukraine. Thus, they're returning back to the main reason of the conflict. The main reason of the conflict was the attempt of NATO to infiltrate into Ukraine, thus endangering our country. So we consider it a danger for us, presence of international forces or any foreign forces or NATO country forces on the soil of Ukraine next to our borders. So in our understanding, it will not help us get closer to the solution of Ukraine. We'll do whatever is necessary to ensure our security. Preferably, would like to reach our goals by diplomatic and peaceful means. When we don't have these possibilities, we'll continue a special military operation.
So that's pretty clear, Brian. And, I think Peskov comes across as being a very reasonable person. He's coming across very calmly there, despite Steve Rosenberg from the BBC's sometimes objectionable questioning.
Yeah. Well, this is the reason that there is reasonable dialogue going. Trump himself saying that in dialogue with Putin's very softly spoken and being reasonable. But of course, Western press now absolutely censored, so the public never gets to see what the other side is talking about. And I would suggest that if we did get to see what the other side, the Russians, are talking about, the public, at least in this country, would quickly be moving to the point where let's get the fighting stopped and engage the talking. But at the moment, we've just got more military hardware being piled in to keep this proxy war going.
Well, we'll come on to that in a second. Let's just listen to one other comment from Peskov here.
We see the readiness of the Russian Federation for dialogue. We see the readiness of the President of the Russian Federation for any meetings, including meetings on the highest level. But in advance, they should be well prepared. Also, we see the very constructive efforts by the President of the United States in order to assist the process of settlement around Ukraine. And we see the outrageous efforts of European countries to provoke continuation of the war.
I can't disagree with anything you said there either.
Neither can I, Mike, because we're watching that provocation on a daily basis. Not only provocation, but the weapons to follow it up. So it's clear what the West is doing, and no wonder that Trump's got wobbly at the moment, because I think he's finally realizing that the European Union is not his friend.
So let's just look at the last 50 days of support to Ukraine. This is according to the UK government. 4.7 million rounds of small arms ammunition for Ukrainian soldiers, 60,000 artillery shells, rockets and missiles, 2,500 drones, more than 200 electronic warfare systems. I wonder how long any of this is going to last. 100 light weapons. What's a light weapon in this context?
Machine gun.
Okay. 30 vehicles, additional counter-drone and air defense equipment. So that was what the Ministry of Defense was bragging that they'd sent in the last 50 days.
So that's if it was sent in the last 50 days, it's probably all gone in the last 50 days.
Yes. So anyway, that was Wednesday. And then yesterday, following the announcement last week of the deal for Norway to buy naval ships from the UK. Try not to laugh when I say that. Secretary of State for War John Healey again was in Norway yesterday to sign an historic agreement to exchange the to enhance the strategic partnership between UK and Norway. So this deal actually formalizes the deal for the ships. This, they claim, strengthens NATO in the region and provides more opportunities for joint training and personnel exchanges between Britain and Norway. And he claims that this is going to support 4,000 jobs and be worth £10 billion to the UK. Now, he and his Norwegian counterpart discussed further joint operations through this agreement. So we'll see what comes of that. At the same time, then, here is Starmer, because he was visiting BAE Scotstoun to say thank you to all those who helped get what he describes as huge contract pushed through. So there he was with some frigates. Do you think they'll operate in cold waters, like the kind of cold waters that Norway has?
If the propellers, or the screws as the Navy would call them, go round, which they often don't in the Type 45s, but hopefully they will. They'll be able to propel themselves in cold water as well.
Okay, and then just to finish this segment, I just want to highlight this article from the Daily Telegraph following the reporting from Wednesday on the situation in China and the commemoration of the end of the Japanese defeat at the end of the war, and the various showing off of material that China was doing during that particular commemoration. Here's the Daily Telegraph editorial team. And I think they probably need to be taken away by men in white coats, because the headline here, Britain must stand against Xi Jinping's disturbing vision of the future. They say, when Mr. Xi promises to build a community of common security, what he means is that no country should have any allies, leaving all but the strongest at China's mercy. And when he stresses the sovereign equality of states, he means that no one should interfere with the sovereign right of tyrants to murder, torture, and oppress their own peoples. No one should doubt that the world reordered by Mr. Xi would be a bleak and pitiless place. This kind of rhetoric coming from an organization that over the last few decades has supported interventionist conflicts run by Britain and the United States, which have only brought disaster and misery to the countries that they were imposed upon. Yeah. So the Telegraph then demands action against Xi's chilling dream. Does our government have a view on this? One hopes that Britain would stand with America and the free world in opposing Mr. Xi's disturbing visions. If that's our intention, and one day a Prime Minister should muster the courage to say so, then it would make little sense to allow China to build our entire energy system or supply the electric cars that just about all of us will drive. Well, that may well be the case, that last point, but we got to always keep in mind that systematically our governments in the West have destroyed our productive capability. This is why Russia and China are so far ahead productively and economically. I think it's a shame that Russia and China are having to spend money developing their own defense firms when they could be doing, and they are doing in many other areas, so many more positive things for humanity, on a broad scale. Of course, they're clearly feeling threatened, and is anybody expecting them to respond any other way?
Well, clearly the papers have stopped thinking, and papers that are supposed to be the papers for comment, particularly on matters overseas, newspapers, records, they just simply do not seem to have the quality of journalists to comment on this properly. If we look at the West, it seems to me at the moment that it's the United States that is the country which is telling everybody what to do, and unless it's done as the United States wants, we're all going to be sanctioned into line or bullied into line.
Mark, yeah, sorry.
I was looking at Mark coming up, so he might like to respond.
Mark, let me welcome you to